I mean, seriously, Synology, fair play to you on this one. Yes, it's a great looking thing. No, no one fell for it. But as April Fool's jokes go, now I kind of want to see what this is. I would like to see this actually exist. Because I'm fairly certain about 20 years ago, this thing would have absolutely been gold dust to someone. Hello and welcome back, and Synology's April Fool's joke aside, this is Data News of the Week, the video where we go through all the little blibs and blobs of news involving data that we couldn't squeeze into other videos. And yes, that was the Synology floppy station, their April Fool's joke, but fair play to them, they even went as far as to give it a reported speed and a model ID. I don't think it's ever going to exist, but my god, wouldn't that have been cool? But carrying on with the subject of Synology, we can talk about this. The Synology RT6600AX, we've got some updates on this arguably very popular mentioned release, the Synology 2022 event back at the start of December. We've got a little bit more information on the specifications, and thanks to documentation that was sent to us regarding FCC regulations and certification of Wi-Fi hardware, we've got a lot more images on it. It's over there, hopefully linked in the description over on NAS Compares. We're going into a lot of detail there about some of the specifications, bit of a deep dive there into each of the individual components that we can see. And you know, although release of this device hasn't been formally announced yet, I do think we are looking at a release for this quite soon there. Again, I know a number of you, much like myself, are quite looking forward to seeing this bad boy out there in the wild. It's a Wi-Fi 6 router, it's got 6 antennae, it's going to support 5.9 gigahertz there on the 160 channel. It's going to be a decent little box down with the promised improvements in SRM, some quite innovative, some fairly standard, arguably. We are looking forward to seeing more on this device. This is linked in the description, and hopefully we're going to be talking a little bit more about this device in the very near future. Next up, Phison and Seagate continue to get just that little bit cozier. They've always been quite a cuddly little relationship between them, between their controller manufacturer, Phison, and Seagate's implementation and distribution of SSDs. And it looks like with their bolstered partnership between the two brands, this can be an incredible improvement with PCIe Gen 5 in the very near future. If you head over to Blocks and Files, they've done a whole Q&A over there with a chap over called Sebastian Jean or Jean there at Seagate, and Phison, I should say, and it goes into a little bit more information about the future of that working relationship, getting a bit closer together there. They go into a little bit of detail there about different NAND, and of course they talk a little bit there about PCIe Gen 5 development moving forward there. So again, do recommend you check that out. But with Phison basically supplying their controllers to a multitude of different brands, even the promised E26 controller has already appeared previews for PCIe Gen 5 NVMe SSDs on a number of different brands already. Although Seagate, it's never going to be Phison's only dalliance when it comes to the controller distribution, the fact that Seagate and Phison will work a lot closer will likely mean that we're going to see more innovative SSDs from Seagate in the PCIe Gen 5 generation, as we saw from the likes of that FireCuda 520 when it was first released, and of course the 530. And with NAND development improving even more, with Micron already showing off higher density NAND for the TLC 3D generation, I do think this promises for almost certainly the Seagate PCIe Gen 5 release. When that comes, maybe we'll see an early release or at least a preview in autumn 2022, as we tend to see the way these things slot when the Mobo manufacturers start rolling out their components. I'm really interested to see how this Seagate and Phison kind of budgeting romance will affect the release of their SSDs, whether it means they get to the market faster, which Seagate have, at least on the SSD market, not been the first to the punch as they've been with the capacities on the hardware market, hard drive market. But maybe this is going to be one step forward to Seagate getting ahead of the pack a little bit further on the NVMe SSD train. Now, returning to the subject of PS5 heatsinks, it's a subject I talked about quite a lot in the closing stages of 2021 as that whole kind of area of storage kind of lit up, and the idea and ideally the understanding of the necessity towards heatsinks on SSDs, particularly in the PS5 storage environment. I explored that in a greater degree of detail, and that's why I'd like to thank a lot of you who have watched a lot of those videos in the past and have highlighted that a brand new PS5 heatsink has arrived on the scene, the Silverstone TP06, and then it looks a little bit basic, if I'm honest. Silverstone is a recognised name when it comes to cooling. Again, they're not the very tippity top, but they're quite well established, and although their heatsink kind of lacks a lot of the kind of ergonomic and shapely design elements of some of the different bits and bobs of, say, the Eagle or the Sabrent heatsink there, maybe even the PNYs and stuff like that, or the Elect gear, it does seem to be quite a nicely provisioned device, and if they get the pricing point right there, this could make a move. Obviously, we are going to be doing temperature testing here on the channel very, very soon, so do stay tuned for that. But thanks to all the users that got in contact with me about this heatsink coming to market and being available to buy, so stay tuned for that. And finally, another ransomware story, and for those of us in the UK that walk up and down the high street every now and then, the brand name The Works is probably one you're going to be aware of. It always seems to be in every single town centre. There's like 500 of them across the UK, and they have been hit by a ransomware attack there. Again, it's detailed across numerous news reports that range from Daily Mail, Guardian, all the way through to a lot of tech-based platforms as well. It all came through to one employee letting that ransomware in via a phishing attack, and the result was some data did get encrypted. Now, no customer data was accessed, no payment information, but they did have to close down a number of stores. Now, again, I've not walked on the high street in the last week or so, so I don't know if the local branch to me shut, but when you read different reports, it does seem to have been mixed, with some online news sites stating that some stores or a handful of stores were closed so they could make sure it wasn't spread any further, or at least information could be verified, whereas other news reports have also stated that pretty much all shops shut for a period of time. Again, maybe you can tell me in the comments you're walking down the high street and went, oh, where am I going to buy my £1 calendar with cats all over it? Maybe you went there and it wasn't open for you. But this isn't the first time that we've seen ransomware affecting high street stores. We always associate ransomware with a purely digital landscape and online only presences, or even home data as well. But with stores being so widely spread over so many areas, they have to have central servers, and those central servers need to be administrated. And we look at this attack. This is from 2 months ago, where a lot of KP Snacks database and different locations were hit by a ransomware attack. This was detailed in a number of different news reports, how they were affected, and there is always the discussion of whether these brands will take the horrible but easy way out of paying the ransom demands to get that data back. In the case of the Works incident, doesn't seem like they're even entertaining it, or at least the impact of the attack doesn't seem to be that big, unlike some of the ones in the past. But I think this is just another element of ransomware that people need to be aware of in 2022, because although we kind of assume ransomware is a digital only impact, we live in a digital landscape, and unfortunately that means that physical retail is going to be affected on some level, even by the most minor attack. And also, I'd like to put my thoughts out to this employee who there's a better than average chance may have lost their job, and I'm really sorry if that is the case. But this has been Data News of the Week. As always, every single week we talk about the different news stories, so let me know if you catch up with anything in the news media. But otherwise, I will see you next week. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff, and I'll see you for more news in a week's time. Cheerio.